time zone you're on. So we'll be talking about Buddha nature, and I will be reading and explaining from this book, Samsara, Nirvana, and Buddha Nature, by His Holiness Dalai Lama, which I helped him to write. And so there's a whole section on the mind's potential and Buddha nature. I taught this, in pretty much detail. Whenever that was. It was late last year. Yeah. And then early this year we started the volume 4, right? Okay, so if you have the book, I will be starting on page 296. Somebody mark something here. No. Okay. So in the book, there's a section about the potential of the mind from the perspective of the Pali tradition, and then going into the Buddha nature as it's spoken of in Tibetan Buddhism, first with the Yogacarya school and the Vajrayana school, and then it has Tantrayana. There's certainly no time in one talk to go through all of that. So I'll be focusing on the section on the Buddha nature according to the Vajrayana school, and then if we have some extra time, there's some very beautiful analogies or similes for Buddha nature explained in the text Sublime Continuum. So if we have time, I'll do a few of those. Sorry. Okay, so first we have some verses. Okay, so do refuge and bodhicitta, and then the four immeasurables. Then we'll pause for a few minutes to do some silent meditation to calm the mind, and then we'll cultivate our motivation and give the talk. So when we take refuge and generate bodhicitta, we always do it. Sorry, I don't know what's happening. We always take refuge in bodhicitta by imagining that we are in the presence of the Buddha Dharma Sangha, imagined in front of us, and that we are surrounded by all the sentient beings. So we cultivate refuge by focusing on the merit field, the Buddha Dharma Sangha, and we cultivate bodhicitta by focusing on the sentient beings that we imagine sitting around us.
I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by listening to the Dharma, I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I have awakened in Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by listening to the Dharma, I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I have awakened in Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by listening to the Dharma, I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free of suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings not be separated from sorrowless bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger.
So some silent meditation for a few minutes. So let's cultivate our motivation. In our daily life, we usually look around and see all these people and think that they are real, independent people who have their own particular nature, their own personality that is independent. And so we regard ourselves and others as these kind of independent entities, when in fact, if we spend some time thinking about it or investigating, we find that we and others are made up of many parts, and independence on all these parts or characteristics, traits coming together in a certain arrangement, then a person appears and we designate that there's a person. But aside from that, there's no permanent person who's always going to be there, who always has the same personality. But because we don't understand how we really exist, and instead think that we are independent entities that just coincidentally are the most important individuals in the world, because of these misconceptions, and we pile up more misconceptions and then wind up with a lot of disturbing emotions, greed, craving, hostility, revenge, you name it. And because of these disturbing emotions, or motivated by these disturbing emotions, then we act, creating karma. And those karmic seeds ripen in terms of what we're reborn as. So we don't always act motivated by afflictions, but when we do, it produces unfortunate rebirth. But when we are motivated by love, compassion, generosity, and so on, then those karmas are the cause for fortunate rebirths and good circumstances. By having good rebirths, a series of them in which we're able to practice the Dharma, then we can gradually realize the path, actualize the true cessations, and become fully awakened Buddhas. So that is our goal, that is our long-term motivation. So think about that for a minute. Let's make that our reason for sharing the Dharma today. Okay. Okay, so Buddha nature according to the Madhyamaka school. So here, Buddha nature is taught as having two aspects, okay? The naturally abiding Buddha nature and the transforming Buddha nature. Okay, so I'm going to read a little bit from the book and explain it. So the naturally abiding Buddha nature is the emptiness of the mind that is yet to abandon defilements and that is able to transform into the nature of the Dharmakaya of a Buddha. Okay, So it's the emptiness of the mind, so that's the ultimate nature of the mind, and it's a particular mind, okay? It's a mind which has not yet abandoned all of the defilements, so it's a defiled mind, yeah, but it is able to transform into the nature of a Buddha's Dharmakaya, so it has that potential. So the emptiness of the mind is a permanent phenomena, okay, and it's the absence of inherent existence. So it isn't some thing that you can draw a circle around that's somewhere inside of you, okay? It's an absence of our fantasized ways of thinking that people and other phenomena exist. Okay, so Nagarjuna in Treatise on the Middle Way says that whatever is the nature of a Tathagata, a Buddha, is the nature of sentient beings. So he says, whatever is the essence of the Tathagata, that is the essence of the transmigrator. Sounds good so far. Then he says, the Tathagata has no essence, the transmigrator has no essence. And you go, wait a minute. You just said that they were the same, and then you said that they have no essence. Okay, so it says, when he's saying that they're the same, he means when we look at, things conventionally, yeah, the emptiness of a Buddha's mind, the emptiness of a sentient being's mind, to a cognizer that directly perceives that emptiness, there's no difference. They're exactly the same. They're both the absence of inherent existence, and they're experienced by that direct cognizer as being the same. They're not experienced as, oh, this is the emptiness of the Buddha's mind, this is the emptiness of Joe Blow's mind. No, their emptiness is just emptiness, okay? But when he says the Tathagata has no essence and the transmigrator has no essence, there he's talking about the ultimate nature of that mind, which is it has no inherent existence. So it means it has, when he says the Tathagata has no essence, the Tathagata has no inherently existent essence. Okay, the sentient beings have no inherently existent essence. Yeah. Now, what's an inherently existent essence? Well, first of all, it doesn't exist. So it's hard to describe something that doesn't exist. But the problem is we think it does exist. Yeah, we think that every person has a special essence in them that makes them them. Okay, don't we? When there's somebody who you feel really close to, you're very attached to, oh, there's something in that person that is so wonderful. And when we don't like somebody, we feel like there's some essence in that person, that is just nasty and quarrelsome, and forget about him. Okay? That's, and so we divide people into friends and enemies and strangers, and we react to things like that as if they had something, essence inside of them that made them what they have or what they are, okay? So this brings a lot of problems because the ultimate nature of all the sentient beings is that they lack any essence, but we project this kind of essence on them. And then we get attached to some people, we have aversion to others. When somebody dies, we freak out because, wait a minute, they have this essence that's really them. How can they die? How can they cease to exist? We go, what? So we may talk a lot about death, but as soon as somebody dies, it's like, no, this is not possible. Impossible. It can't happen. Yeah. And we want that person to reappear. We see them as some real thing. Yeah. But if you think about it, does anybody have a truly existent personality? Well, first of all, if they had a truly existent personality, anything that is truly existent cannot change. Okay. If your personality cannot change, then it's really bad news. Yeah, because how are you ever going to become a Buddha if you can't change? Okay. Also, somebody couldn't even change their ideas from one idea to the next. Their moods couldn't change because everything would be fixed and independent, meaning that circumstances couldn't influence it at all. Yeah. And so how can somebody be happy one minute, miserable the next, if they have an essence, a personality that is the essence of who they are, that we either cling to with attachment, push away with animosity, or just ignore because they don't influence us one way or the other. Okay. So this empty nature of the mind is beyond the past, present, and future. It's beyond the realms of existence. It's beyond constructive and destructive karma. Okay? So this empty nature of the mind, it's not virtuous and it's not non-virtuous. And yet, it can act as the basis for both samsara and nirvana. Yeah, because as a basis for samsara, that the emptiness of a transmigrator's mind is there. As the basis for nirvana, the emptiness of an arhat or a Buddha's mind is there. Okay. So and then the second aspect of the Buddha nature, well, wait a minute, this is still the naturally abiding Buddha nature. Okay, so that's the emptiness of inherent existence of ordinary beings' minds. Okay, and the fact that the essence, the nature of sentient beings' mind is empty, means that mental defilements can be eliminated. Why? Because if phenomena were inherently existent, they would be independent of everything else, which would mean that there could be no antidotes to eliminate the defilements. Yeah, because antidotes have to influence something, but if the mind is inherently existent, nothing can influence it, so it can't change. Okay, so the fact that the ultimate nature of the mind is empty of inherent existence or true existence indicates that the mind can change. So that's good, isn't it? In one way, we don't like impermanence at all. When we have something we like, we want it to stay. But, when you think about it, impermanence is also good, because that's what enables us to, purify the defilements, purify the negative karma, transform into practitioners and bodhisattvas and Buddhas. Okay, so all the defilements are rooted in fundamental ignorance, the erroneous mental factor that grasps all phenomena as having an inherent reality. Yeah, when you look at each person in the room, yeah, do they look like they have something similar? No, everybody looks like they have their own personality. This is so-and-so, and this is so-and-so, and this is so-and-so, And if I want this, I ask so-and-so. And if I need to say something to this person, I say it in this way. If I need to say it to that person, I say it in that way. Because, they have these inherently existent personalities. Yeah. But that's what we think, but it's wrong. Okay, so the erroneous grasping at inherent existence gives rise to attachment, anger, and other afflictions, and it also supports virtuous polluted mental states as well. And so from these virtue or non-virtuous mental states, then we act, we create karma that, excuse me, the karma influences what we'll be reborn as, what we'll experience, and so on. Okay, the thing is that this ignorance can be eliminated, because it is a wrong consciousness. If ignorance saw things as they are, then there could not be any kind of wisdom that overcame it, because it already would be realizing reality. Okay? But ignorance doesn't realize reality. It projects something that doesn't exist on top of people and phenomena, and then grasps that. So that mind is a mistaken mind. It's an erroneous consciousness. So when wisdom can perceive what actually exists, which is the opposite of what ignorance thinks exists, then that wisdom can counteract the ignorance, gradually peeling away different layers of it until all ignorance is gone. Okay? That process of cleansing the empty nature of the mind brings about, when we talk about somebody becoming a Buddha, it brings about the nature truth body. When we talk about the different bodies of the Buddha, this is the nature truth body. No, I'm not sick. This is allergies. Okay. So the empty nature of our mind right now is also called natural nirvana. It's not, natural nirvana is not nirvana. Okay? Natural nirvana refers to the emptiness of a sentient being's mind. When nirvana does not refer to a sentient being's mind. That's a quality of, when we're just talking plain old nirvana, an arhat or a Buddhist mind. Okay. Then there's the second aspect of the Buddha nature called the transforming Buddha nature. So this is the seed for the unpolluted mind. So it's the potential to have an unpolluted mind. An unpolluted mind is one that is free of ignorance and and the seeds of ignorance and the latent seeds of ignorance. So that transforming Buddha nature consists of conditioned phenomena that can transform into a Buddha's wisdom truth body. Okay? So our natural, the natural Buddha nature, the emptiness of the mind, is something that's permanent. Transforming Buddha nature is impermanent. The natural Buddha nature becomes, or develops and is then called the natural truth body of a Buddha. The transforming Buddha nature develops and becomes the wisdom truth body of a Buddha. Okay? The wisdom truth body of a Buddha and the wisdom truth body of Buddha and the natural truth body. What? Huh? Nature. Yeah. Nature. Yeah. Woo-hoo-hoo. Yeah. Okay, we have very wise people here. Yeah, they are one nature, because any object or person and their ultimate nature are one nature. Okay. So the transforming truth body consists of conditioned phenomena, meaning that they're impermanent, that can transform into a Buddha's wisdom truth body. So the transforming Buddha nature includes neutral mental consciousnesses as well as virtuous mental factors such as love, compassion, wisdom, trust, things like that. Yeah, integrity, consideration for others, and so on. And of course, bodhicitta. Yeah. And so all these mental factors, these virtuous mental states, are things that we have as seeds now, and as we practice the path, then these seeds get nourished, they become manifest consciousnesses, we develop familiarity with them, and as we become more and more familiar with these virtuous mental factors, then they're there manifest in our mind more and more often. And that's when we can really see ourselves change and see other people change, because the virtuous mental factors are becoming stronger and becoming more stable. Okay, so this happens, so that we can become bodhisattvas, and then the qualities are similarly developed as we progress through the bodhisattva paths and grounds. So the transforming Buddha nature also includes consciousnesses that form the collection of wisdom. Okay, so we have the two collections. Remember, the collection of merit and the collection of wisdom. So the transforming Buddha natures, they form the collection of wisdom, which is the principal cause of the wisdom truth body. Okay. So it's impossible to increase these virtuous qualities and mental states limitlessly, because their base, the clear light mind, is stable, and because no antidote can eliminate these virtuous qualities. So our virtuous qualities sometimes can be very strong, sometimes very weak. When we don't develop them, when we're overwhelmed by lots of afflictions, then the virtuous ones become weak, but they can never totally disappear. Okay, because there's nothing wrong with them. They don't misperceive reality in the same way that ignorance does, and the same way that the afflictions do. Okay, so at the time we become Buddhas, our naturally abiding Buddha nature will become the nature truth body of a Buddha, and our transforming Buddha nature becomes the wisdom truth body of the Buddha. And so there we have the truth body of the Buddha. Okay, so in short, it says, any neutral or virtuous mind that is not free from defilement and can transform into a Buddha's wisdom dharmakaya, or wisdom truth body, is part of the transforming Buddha nature. And you're going to say, wait a minute, it's not free from defilement, and it can transform into, to the Buddha nature. Wait a minute, you mean it's defiled and it can become the Buddha? Right now it's defiled in the sense that it's in a mind that has ignorance. Yeah. But as that mental factor, that mental state, the virtuous one, develops and the ignorance is peeled away and shed, then it is no longer in a polluted mind. It's in an unpolluted mind. Okay? Yeah. Okay. So mental consciousness is accompanied by manifest afflictions, like when you're really angry. Is that mind the Buddha nature? No, because anger cannot be developed and continued and become part of a Buddha's mind, because there's no such thing as an angry Buddha. Okay, so that, the qualities that we don't like about ourselves, that we wish we didn't have, the Buddha taught antidotes to all of them. As we practice those antidotes, those, the defilements decrease in strength and in frequency, and as we develop the good qualities, they increase in strength and frequency in our mind. Somebody asked me today when we were walking back from the forest, very concerned with, at what level somebody eliminates all of the afflictions, like an arhat. And I said, well, a bodhisattva does that on the 8th ground, and then after that they, have 3 more grounds to become a Buddha. And he said, how long does that take? Yeah, what do you think? How would you answer that question? Yeah, it depends. That's what I told him. I said, it depends on, how you practice. Do you learn? Do you study? Do you think about the teachings? Do you put them into practice? Or are you too busy going to the beach, going to the disco, exercising your thumbs? What are you doing? It depends on us. So that's something that is really good about Buddhism, because if our happiness and suffering depended on an external creator, then, you can't control an external creator who can pull strings, it gets really sticky. So we're the ones who are responsible for what happens to us. Okay, so some people speak of inanimate phenomena, rocks, trees, and so forth, as having the Buddha nature. Yeah, His Holiness says, no, a rock cannot become a Buddha. A tree cannot become a Buddha. So what he thinks when these people say that, he says, I believe they are referring to the fact that these phenomena are empty of true existence. So in the same way, the tree is empty of true existence, well, the person is empty of true existence, the mind is empty of true existence. So if those have the Buddha nature, then the tree must have the Buddha nature. And that's how those people think, but from a Tibetan Buddhist viewpoint, it's really inaccurate to say that an inanimate object that does not have consciousness has the Buddha nature. Yeah, because its ultimate nature may be empty, but it certainly doesn't have the transforming nature that can develop and become a Buddha's wisdom truth body. So then somebody may wonder, well, since the emptiness of the mind of a sentient being and the emptiness of the mind of a Buddha are the same thing in being the emptiness of inherent existence, does that mean that sentient beings already have all the qualities of a Buddha? Okay, if the ultimate nature of their mind is the same, and to a direct consciousness, a direct perceiver consciousness, you can't differentiate between these two emptinesses, does that mean the sentient beings are already Buddhas? What do you think? Are you already a Buddha? I'm not. Okay, so just because we have the emptiness of the mind doesn't mean, and that's the same as a Buddha's emptiness, doesn't mean we're already Buddhas. Why not? Because we have ignorance and Buddhas don't. Are transforming, a Buddha's transforming Buddha nature has become the wisdom truth body. Our transforming Buddha nature is sometimes manifest and sometimes it's sleeping. Okay? So, because the minds that have these two emptinesses are different than the emptiness of a Buddha and the emptiness of a sentient being. Yeah. From the perspective of that direct perceiver, they're the same, but from the perspective of a conventional consciousness, they're different because one is the ultimate nature of a sentient being, the other is the ultimate nature of a Buddha. Okay. So when that sentient being develops their transforming Buddha nature and becomes a Buddha, yeah, then their ultimate nature, their emptiness, becomes the nature truth body. Okay? Got it? Okay, so sometimes, oh, wait a minute. Okay, so emptiness is sometimes called the cause of the wonderful qualities of the Aryas, the beings who have realized emptiness directly. Because when we perceive that emptiness directly and use that realization to cleanse our mind of defilements, yeah, then our mind becomes pure and pure. So in that way, it's said to be the cause. But is emptiness really a cause of anything? Why not? It's a permanent phenomenon. Okay. So the fact that we have the naturally abiding Buddha nature, the empty nature of the mind, does not mean that we have already realized it with a true path, that reliable cognizer that realizes emptiness directly. So there's a lot about ourselves that we do not understand, let alone realize, like the empty nature of our mind, for example. Okay, but when this realization arises in our mind, the emptiness of our minds, our Buddha nature, then becomes something quite special. It's then is called the nature body of a Buddha. Okay, let's see. So while it's true that sentient beings' minds are empty of inherent existence and that the defilements are adventitious, when we say the defilements are adventitious, this means that the defilements are not in the ultimate nature of the mind. Okay, so if you look really deeply what the mind is, you can't find defilements. Yeah. But defilements are there. Okay, so one analogy that's given is like a cloth that's dirty. Yeah, the dirt is not the same nature as the cloth, but when the dirt is there, you can't see the actual color of the cloth. It's obscured. So the dirt is like the ignorance and all the other afflictions that obscure the mind. So no matter in which realm a sentient being abides, the naturally abiding Buddha nature is always there. It doesn't decrease, it doesn't increase, it doesn't become tall or short, it doesn't become an animal or a hungry ghost or a god or whatever. Okay, it's just empty. So an example is given of gold that is buried in the ground for many centuries. It's still gold, yeah, even though it's buried in the ground. People can't see it. Yeah, they may walk across there. Like, let's say you look out at, near the area around the Buddha Hall that's just dry dirt right now. Okay, there's no gold underneath it, but let's say there was gold underneath it. Okay, then people would see the dirt, but they wouldn't see the gold. Yeah, and I think, oh, this is just dirty, So that, we often think of ourselves that way and other sentient beings that way. Oh, look, we're just all sentient beings. We're so messed up. I can't do this right. I'm in a bad mood all the time. Nobody likes me. I can't control my mind. The usual story. Okay, so we have that idea because we're just seeing the dirt. But you wasn't it Superman who had eyes that could see special things, under the earth, through walls? Okay, so if you had Superman eyes, then you could see the gold, you could see your Buddha nature. And, if we had any kind of feeling for our Buddha nature, yeah, especially that transforming Buddha nature, we would never get depressed. Yeah, because here we have, the qualities that when they're developed, they become part of the the continuity that becomes the qualities of a Buddha's mind. Yeah, so what in the world are we depressed and down for when we have, that nature? Okay, so you can see how stupid we are sometimes. Don't you think we're stupid sometimes? Yeah, we're pretty dumb sometimes. And that's one way that we're really dumb. We just say, I'm not going to amount to anything. I can't do anything right. That same thing. Okay, so gold may be buried in the ground for centuries, but it is still gold, and it is always possible to access it. The gold may be covered with dirt, but it doesn't become dirt. So the dirt is adventitious there. Yeah. If dirt were the nature of the gold could never be cleaned. If the nature of our mind were inherently polluted, then that's the nature of our mind. We could never free it from that kind of pollution of ignorance. Okay. But because the dirt only obscures the gold, it's not the nature of the gold. The gold can be cleansed so that its natural radiance can be seen. So similarly, these seeds of the virtuous qualities in our mind and the bits of the virtuous qualities that we've developed so far, those exist, and the more they're developed and the more the afflictions are cleared away, then the more those good qualities become evident, and we feel better about ourselves, and the people around us say, wow, you've really changed. Yeah, and if you live in a monastery for a while, you see the people that you live with change. Yeah? So it gives you confidence, and you can see how your habits are changing too. Mm-hmm. Okay, so similarly, the emptiness of our defiled mind is always there. When we realize that emptiness, the wisdom that realizes it cleanses the defilements from our minds, and in doing so, the emptiness of our minds will also be cleansed. So that's why when we talk of the natural Buddha nature, we say it's the emptiness of a mind that has not removed all of the pollutions, has not yet removed the pollutions. Okay? Okay, so even though our minds have always been naturally pure of inherent existence, at that time, when we realize it's the emptiness and use that wisdom to cleanse the mind, that time we will have the additional purity of being free from all the adventitious defilements. So we have the natural purity, and we cleanse the emptiness, then we cleanse the afflictions from the emptiness, then we have the additional purity of being free from the adventitious defilements. Okay, are you getting this? Yeah? So you can have the natural freedom, which is the emptiness of the mind, yeah? And it's true that the afflictions are adventitious, they aren't in the nature of the mind, yeah? But until they have been eliminated, we can't say that we're Buddhas, yeah? And so in some traditions, sometimes you find people saying that, we're already Buddhas, we just have to purify our mind, and then we'll realize that we're already Buddhas. Well, that is said, I think, to encourage people, yeah, so that people feel like, oh, there's something, already really good inside me. I just need to cleanse my mind of the defilements, and then I'll radiate and shine, because I'm already Buddha. Okay. Now the problem, if you put that on the debate ground, is that it doesn't make any sense, because then you would be an ignorant Buddha. Okay? If you say, I'm already Buddha, yeah, but I haven't realized emptiness, well, then I'm an ignorant Buddha. That doesn't make sense, does it? Yeah, okay? So we can't take that kind of statement literally. It's something that, is what we say it's provisional or it's interpretable. Yeah, you have to, you don't understand it literally, but the Buddha did say it for a certain, for a certain reason. And when you understand what the Buddha really intended by it, then, it makes sense. Okay? But if you go around thinking, I'm a Buddha, I just have to, kind of tidy up my mind a little bit. But already there's, the Buddha with the 32 signs and the 80 marks somewhere in here. I don't know where. Is it in my knee? Is it in my, lumbar spine? Where is it? You're going to get kind of confused. Okay. So without the two kinds of Buddha nature, there would be no way for the awakened activities of the Buddha to enter into us. So we talk about awakened activities, or sometimes enlightening activities of a Buddha. It's the kind of actions that Buddhas do in order to lead sentient beings on the path. Okay? So if we didn't have the Buddha nature, there would be no way that we could be receptive to these awakened activities of the Buddha, okay? Because our mind would be inherently polluted, and, the Buddha could do a song and dance with all of his virtuous qualities, but nothing would affect us, because if something's inherently existent, it's permanent, it can't change, it can't depend or be affected by other phenomena. Okay, so and our minds wouldn't be receptive to the Buddha's influence. Yeah. So, our minds are receptive to the Buddha's influence. Yeah. Maybe not all the time. Sometimes we're zoned out. Sometimes we're really mad. At those times, it's like you have your radio and your radio's turned off. Yeah, so the radio station may be broadcasting, but no sounds coming from your radio. It's a really bad example. Hardly anybody uses radios now. Yeah. Okay, your phone. Yeah. Phone. Now everybody's going to wake up. I talk about your prized possession, your phone. Yeah, which is glued to your hand, now inextricably part of your hand, that you cannot bear to part with. So, if our mind, were inherently polluted, then there's nothing that could change them. Yeah. And we wouldn't be receptive to the Buddha's enlightened activities either, because it would be very difficult for, how can virtue exist if the mind were permanent? Even the conventional nature of the mind is impermanent. If it were permanent, then again, we couldn't change thoughts. We wouldn't be influenced by what other people say. We couldn't be affected by the Buddha's enlightened activities. Yeah, but we are affected. Yeah. Now you're going to go, oh, yeah. I'm really affected by the Buddha's activities. That's why I'm just so, down all the time. I'm waiting for the Buddha's activities to affect me. Come on, Buddha, I dare you. Send out your awakening influence. I want to see you affect my mind, You can't do it. I'm just hopeless. I'm screwed up. Yeah. Well, that's not actually a very logical argument, is it? Yeah, because the afflictions are not the nature of the mind. And, they are not, they're adventitious, they can be eliminated. You have the clear light nature of the mind that is neither virtuous nor non-virtuous, but it's capable of perceiving things, so it's capable of being influenced by the Buddha's enlightened activities. And certainly our virtuous mental factors can be influenced by the Buddha's enlightened activities. We would like to see the Buddha do something that we could very easily identify as, this is the Buddha's activities. Now I know, the Buddha banged me, and now my afflictions are gone. Oh, I've realized the 15th Bhumi. Sorry, there's only 10. But, yeah. But that's not the way, progressing along the path works. It's not some kind of, abracadabra thing. There may be certain experiences that we have that affect us very deeply, but it's not like, yeah. you talk to people. One time, there was a conference, and this one woman who was fairly new to the Dharma attended, and she said that when one Lama came in, she could just feel, she got chills up and down, and, that's my teacher. And that, that experience of connection may happen with some people, but I don't think you necessarily have to have chills up and down in your mind and go, we like Hollywood, don't we? Yeah, but actually practicing the path is much more nuanced. Yeah, it's much subtler. It's more nuanced than Hollywood. Yeah. Of course, if you want a Hollywood awakening, then after you have one of your abracadabra experiences, then what do you want to do? You want to tell the world, and you go blabbing all over about it. Yeah, and you get kind of puffed up about it, and then that really shows how far away you are from awakening. Yeah. Okay. So without these two kinds of Buddha nature, there would be no way for the awakened activities of the Buddha to enter into us. Our minds would not be receptive to the Buddha's influence or to the teachings. Yeah, nothing in our minds could germinate by coming into contact with these qualities of a Buddha. But Buddha nature is the basis of the cultivation of the Mahayana, and it's what enables our mind to be affected and transformed by the teachings. Okay, now, is it your experience that your mind is affected and transformed when you listen to Dharma teachings? Yeah? I mean, we just had several days of Dharma teachings. Was there some time in that when you go like, oh yeah. Yeah, I think for everybody there must have been something like that. It's not flashing light and, confetti falling from the sky, but it's like, oh, that's really true. Yeah, so that shows that our mind is affected by the Buddha's enlightened activities. Yeah, so we keep attending teachings, we keep practicing, and, that effect keeps building up. So the fact that the Buddha taught the Dharma indicates that sentient beings have the potential to become Buddhas. If we didn't, it would have been useless for the Buddha to deliver 84,000 teachings. So think about it, yeah. Do you think that Shakyamuni, worked so hard for such a long time, through so many eons, and became a Buddha, and then walked all over ancient India giving teachings, and that he did all of that simply because he had nothing better to do? Yeah, come on. So, it would have been totally useless if sentient beings were hopeless. So the fact that, he taught indicates that he knew that we had some potential in there. Okay. Okay, so in Maitreya's book, with the commentary by his Asanga, and what's the name of the book? Uttara Tantra, or Ratnagopa. I can't pronounce it. Pronounce it for me.
Isn't it the Ratna Gotra Vibhanga?
Yeah, it's Ratna Gotra Vibhanga. Okay. That's another Sanskrit name for Gyu Lama. Okay, Gyu Lama is the Tibetan. Yeah. Uttara Tantra is the Sanskrit. Ratna Gotra Vibhanga is another Sanskrit name. Okay. So by using the 9 similes, one sutra called the Tathagata Garbha Sutra gives us an inkling of the Buddha nature that has been and will continue to be within us. So Maitreya's Sublime Continuum and its commentary by Asanga explain these similes to point out that a richness inside of us, a potential that we are usually unaware of. Yeah. Why are we unaware of our Buddha nature? Because we are distracted by external objects. Yeah. I mean, how often do we stop and just center ourselves and look at what's going on in our mind? Yeah. We keep ourselves extraordinarily busy, running around doing so many things. And, when we're dealing with external objects, we may be, having a virtuous intention, a good motivation. But at that time, it's hard to really see the nature of the mind because we're, organizing this and going here and doing that and saying this, and this person wants this and that person wants that. And, so we're quite distracted, yeah. But it's there. Okay, so this Tathagata Garbha Sutra and then the Sublime Continuum, when we understand it, it gives us some idea of that potential that's in the mind. Okay, so contemplating the meaning of these similes generates great inspiration and confidence to practice the path. So all afflictive and cognitive obscurations are condensed into 9 obscurations that are being spoken of in these 9 similes. So the 9 similes, refer to specific groups of obscurations, yeah, and they are designed for specific, they're designed primarily or directed primarily at sentient beings in specific realms or specific situations. But, yeah, all of those similes can apply to us. We can also reinterpret them and see how they apply to who we are right now. Okay, but by applying the appropriate antidotes, all of these obscurations, these 9 obscurations, can be removed and we can become fully awakened Buddhas. So from beginningless time, the basic nature of the mind has been immaculate and has never been mixed with stains or afflictions, but it has been covered by these 9 obscurations. How did the obscurations get there? Because there was a previous continuity of the obscurations. When did it all start? It didn't start, because one moment of obscuration has a cause the previous moment, and that has its cause the previous moment, that has its cause the previous, and you never get to a beginning. Yeah. If there were a beginning, then how do you explain why from nothing you all of a sudden have something? Because what's the cause of something to come out of nothing? It can't. Okay, as we progress on the path, the transforming Buddha nature develops, the mind becomes pure, and the obscurations are gradually eliminated. When all obscurations have been removed, such that they can never return. The purified mind becomes the wisdom Dharmakaya, and its emptiness becomes the nature Dharmakaya. So Maitreya said in Sublime Continuum, this Tathagata-garbha, by Tathagata-garbha he means Buddha nature. This Tathagata-garbha abides within the shroud of the afflictions, as should be understood through the following 9 examples. Okay, so here are the 9 examples. Just as a Buddha in a Buddha statue in a decaying lotus, that's one. Honey amidst bees, second. A grain in its husk, third. Fourth, gold in filth. Fifth, a treasure underground. Sixth, a shoot, and so on, sprouting from a little fruit. Next one is a statue of a victorious one in a tattered rag, and the ruler of a humankind in a destitute woman's womb, and the 9th one is a precious image under clay. So just like those 9 examples, 9 similes, this Buddha element abides within all sentient beings, obscured by the defilement of the adventitious poisons. Poisons are the afflictions. Okay. So, I'm not going to go through all 9. I'm going to read the second one. Okay. The Buddha essence is like honey with a swarm of bees surrounding it. Okay. So at the Abbey, it is now summertime. We have lots of bees. We have hornets. We have wasps. We have yellow jackets. I think only the bees make honey. The wasps and yellow jackets don't make honey. We should teach them how. I'm joking. Okay, so think of the Buddha. Yeah, the Buddha essence is like honey with a swarm of bees around it. Yeah. Imagine that. Can you get at the honey? Is the honey there? Is the honey sweet? But you can't get to it. Okay, so the honey is like the ultimate truth, the emptiness of inherent existence, especially of the mind. Just as all honey has the same taste, the ultimate nature of all phenomena is the same. Okay, and the ultimate nature of our mind, the ultimate nature of the Buddhist mind is the same. But the bees not only conceal the honey, but they also angrily sting someone who tries to take it. And in doing so, the bees harm themselves as well as whoever they stung. Yeah, I think when bees sting, they die after that. Yeah. So you sting, they sting, but they're harming themselves, and then they're also harming whoever they stung. So similarly, we cannot see our honey-like Buddha essence because it is obscured by the seeds of, what does that simile remind you of? The honey with bees around it, and the bees sting.
Honey on the razor blade.
What kind of emotion stings? Anger. Okay, so it's like the Buddha nature in a mind that has manifest anger, yeah, or even the seeds of anger. Yeah, it's obscured by the seeds of hatred, anger, resentment, and vengeance, and spite and hostility. We have lots of English words. for disliking people. We don't have as many positive words in English. Yeah. The obscuration pertains specifically to ordinary beings. Here it talks about ordinary beings in the form and formless realms. But let's just say that for our sake, it is talking about sentient beings in the desire realm like us. Yeah, because we're the ones who really get angry. Yeah. So we have the seeds of anger in our continuum, and we have coarse manifest anger. So the seeds not only prevent us from seeing our Buddha essence, but also enable the destructive emotions related to anger and animosity to manifest in our minds, mercilessly stinging ourselves and those around us. Yeah, it's a good example, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, when we're angry, we're really like those bees, when you're standing there and an angry bee is flying around you, maybe you stepped on the hive, they were in the ground, or you kicked something, the hive, or whatever, you whooshed away the bee and it's angry now. Yeah. So when we're angry, how do other people relate to us? Yeah, well, how do we relate to angry bees? We get out of there, okay? So other people go the other direction when they see us, when they can tell that we're angry, yeah? And so the anger obscures our Buddha nature, and it obscures it not only in the present, but because we create so much negative karma motivated by that, then we create even more obscurations that cover the Buddha nature. Okay, so an insightful person knows that despite the bees around it, the honey itself is pure and delicious. Okay, so this, applying to ourselves, no matter what kind of bad mood we're in, what kind of horrible thing we did, or good thing we did, or good mood we're in, doesn't matter, the Buddha nature is always there. And the Buddha nature is always there in each sentient being. Yeah. So we can never just say, oh, that person is evil. Have you ever noticed that we divide things into, oh, that's a good person, and they're an evil person. And we think of a person as evil, and that's their nature. They can only be evil. They're irredeemable. They cannot change. Yeah, and that's the way we think of them. Yeah, and that's totally wrong, because even though, at that time it's like honey with some bees flying around, the honey is still sweet and the bees can go away. Yeah, so, that person still has the Buddha nature. They still have that potential. So we cannot sign anybody off and say this person is evil, this person is useless, throw them out the window. Yeah. I was just reading an article in the LA Times, and it was talking about the rise of, not the LA Times, New York Times, and it was talking about the rise of Christian nationalism and how people are using the Bible to make it sound, using the Bible to justify violence. Yeah. And of course, I don't think that's why Christianity was formed. It was formed, to teach people kindness and consideration and generosity and helping others. Yeah. But there are statements in the Bible where they talk about God and versus the devil. This very black and white thing of, what's ultimately virtuous and ultimately non-virtuous. Yeah. And people are quoting the Bible, these kind of quotes in it, to talk about, well, these people in the country are, on God's side, and these people are on the devil's side. And God said, you should smite the devil, so, it's legitimate for us to be violent against these other people who have different views. Yeah, I don't think that is really the meaning of Christianity. Yeah, I don't think that's what Jesus' teaching was about at all, because we ignorant beings don't need anybody to teach us to be angry and harm each other. Yeah, what we do need is, people who teach us how to calm our own anger and be kind to each other. So, with this thing with the bees and the honey's there. We have to do something with the bees. Yeah. So, an insightful person knows that despite the bees around it, the honey itself is pure and delicious. She devises a skillful way to separate the bees from the honey, and then enjoys the honey as she wishes. Tasting honey, like realizing the emptiness of the mind, always brings joy. Similarly, the Buddha sees the Buddha essence or Buddha nature in each sentient being, and with skillful methods, such as the teachings of the 3 turnings of the Dharma wheel, the Buddha frees sentient beings from their defilements. So the Buddha has the ultimate method for getting rid of the bees, or maybe making the bees calm and peaceful. Okay, so we have a few minutes left for questions, if people have questions. Yeah.
You reminded us at the very beginning that the collection of wisdom becomes the wisdom, truth, body in the Buddha. And I was thinking about the collection of merit, which becomes the Buddha's form bodies, I believe. But in this context, it's like, how can that collection of merit also not be part of the developing Buddha nature? How can
it not be part of what?
Of the developing Buddha nature?
Yeah, it is, because it's something that the continuum of which can remain and transform into a Buddha's truth body. But it's mostly the collection of merit, a collection of wisdom, because we're actively, developing wisdom. Okay. Other questions? Mm-hmm.
You said that we seldom take the time during the day to check in with our mind because we're so busy running around. Mm-hmm. Can you give suggestions on how to do that?
You can have a certain something that happens frequently throughout the day that you use as like a little bell that reminds you, pause, touch base. Yeah. If you're doing the practices of Chenrezig or Tara or any of those practices, there's always a step in the practice where you dissolve into emptiness. That's a good time to do it. Or just, throughout the day, something every time you get an email, then you may be like that all day. Now, don't look at the screen, but every time you drink some water, then you stop, you touch base. Oh yes, yeah, those are external objects. I want to develop internal qualities. Yeah. And that doesn't mean doing external things is useless, because when we generate a good motivation and then we act with that, then we're, accumulating merit and in the process of transforming our mind. But what trips us up is when we're distracted to sense objects because we're attached to something, we want something, or we're mad at something, we don't want it, get it away. That's what is the big thing that takes us away from the Dharma. Okay. Anybody online have questions? Doesn't seem like. Okay, yeah?
I had a question about the virtuous mental factors and how to water those seeds. So I don't have the 11 memorized, but I can think like, for the 4 measurables, like we have practices that water those. But I think that 2 of them are also integrity and consideration for others. So how what type of practices that we have would water those type of seeds?
Oh, okay. So for integrity, that's a mental factor that abstains from non-virtue because we respect ourselves and we respect the Dharma that we practice. So to increase that, to really have a sense, I think, of our own values, our own principles, that things that, how we want to live our life, what is virtuous that we want to practice, what is non-virtuous that we want to be free of, and we have that clear in our mind, and we act motivated by that state of mind because we respect ourselves and we want to do well. Okay? The consideration for others is abstaining from negativity out of concern for how our negative actions affect others. Like, if we act abominably, other people get angry, then they create negative karma. If we propose to them to, some beautiful thing that they can buy, then they generate greed and attachment. So here it is abstaining, from acting in a negative way because we know that will make other people lose faith in us or lose faith in the Dharma. And we say, I don't want to be that kind of person that makes other people turn away from the Buddha's teachings because of my bad behavior. And so we refrain from that kind of behavior. Yeah. So, being very clear in our own mind and then trying to, about our values and principles, our precepts, and then doing our best to act according to that.
We have a question here, then.
Sure.
It's from Mark.
Mm-hmm.
Mark, who's just
Oh, can I ask a question about Nirvana? Is it a deep, dreamless sleep, or is it more than that?
Sorry, can somebody repeat the question for me?
Is Nirvana a deep, dreamless sleep, or is it more than that?
It's not a deep, dreamless sleep. Yeah, you don't need to have Nirvana to have a deep, dreamless sleep. Yeah, my cat does it all the time. Yeah, I know the cat's name is Maitri, but I don't think that she is Maitreya Buddha, okay, who has that. No, Nirvana is beyond that, okay. There's different kinds of Nirvana. There's the Nirvana of an arhat, which the afflictions have been removed. And then there's the Nirvana of a Buddha, in which not only the afflictions have been removed, but also the cognitive obscurations. So there's different kinds, But when there's Nirvana, your mind is peaceful, your mind is happy, you have purpose, you have meaning in your lives. It's not just being blanked out. Okay. Yeah. Okay.